This is Julia James Davis, and welcome to The War on Beauty. People tend to think that immodesty or revealing clothing is a new thing. However, in post-revolution era France in the late 1700s, early 1800s, women were wearing dresses that would make us blush today. The sartorial trends of post-revolutionary France are an excellent case study for the relationship between atheism and immodesty, and that directly parallels to the crisis of modesty that we are having in the West now. Before the French Revolution, the French monarchy, or the Ancien Regime, was staunchly Catholic and very aligned with the Vatican, and the fashions of that period were heavy fabrics, big powdered wigs, and lots of adornment. And so when the French Revolution happened, which was at its core an atheistic movement, there was this massive effort to de-Christianize France, cutting it off from all of its Catholic ties, which included killing priests, nuns, destroying all Catholic imagery, and converting the churches to temples to reason, which was the new state-run atheistic cult. And so along with that, this period brought a complete 180 in fashion styles in order to communicate the opposite values of the monarchy, which were reason, order, and valuing man's intellect over faith and religion. So instead of the beautiful over-the-top dresses of the French monarchy, women started dressing in clothing inspired by ancient Rome and Greece. They started wearing a dress called the robe à la grecque, which was made out of semi-sheer muslin fabric. These were often very low cut and sleeveless or had cap sleeves, and basically aimed to style women as living Venus statues. One first-hand account of this style says, quote, Lady Abercorn, who was a main fashion plate of the time, had a ball the other night at which there were 12 ladies in the garb of statues. George Ellis asked Mrs. Poole, who was one of them, whether she was really as naked as she appeared to be, and she said she really was very near. So what's important about this is that fashion is inextricably linked with values. The visuals of dress are one of the main communicators for who someone is. Before you even get to talk to someone, you see them wearing a certain outfit that explains part of their story, whether that be a band t-shirt or a religious habit. And so fast forward to now, the West has a modesty problem that is similarly rooted in atheistic values. And contrary to a lot of commentary, this is something that affects both men and women. So to define modesty, which is something that is sort of loosely defined since it does depend on who you are and what your cultural background is, but modesty basically means dressing appropriately for who you are and where you are. And this extends to beyond clothing. It can be how you act, the words that you use, and even in smaller ways like with how much makeup you wear or tattoos or excessive jewelry. And so just as much as there was a break in the visuals of fashion from the French monarchy to post-revolutionary France, the same thing happened in the United States with the feminist movement. After the second wave of feminism in the 1960s, women started dressing in a much more revealing manner as a way to express the values of female liberation and this new idea of personal agency, which was a stark visual break from the conservative dress codes of the 1950s and before. This was the era of the mini skirts and burning bras, which aimed to dissolve actually the connection between one's moral worth and what they wore. And so likewise during that era, we saw a big change in how women were represented in media. Women started to become portrayed in movies, advertisements, and music in an overall more immodest way. today. And since then, clothing for both men and women have become increasingly revealing and very casual. People are now walking around the streets, going on airplanes, going to work even in clothing that basically has abandoned all decency and manners and respect for others. And there's no longer really a line between being in your house and being casual in sweats or workout clothes and going out into the public, which should demand a little bit more decorum and mindfulness about how one is going out into public. And so this new way of dressing really does directly correlate to the increasing rates of atheism and the eschewing of traditional morality, just like in post-revolutionary France. Because we have seen atheism rising through the roof, and specifically for women. So for the first time, young women are now more likely to identify as religiously unaffiliated or atheist compared to their male counterparts, which is a first-time reversal of the traditional pattern where women are more religious than men. And a leading cause of this has been gender issues, and especially abortion, plus this increasing trend towards personal spirituality outside of a centralized religion. And since the church doesn't support abortion or LGBT or intimate relationships outside of marriage, which is basically the abject opposite of everything the feminist movement stands for, women have chosen to not become part of a religion or even believe in God. And people really want to divorce morality and clothing, but this is actually really hard. They call it a fashion statement for a reason. And this new revealing clothing worn by women is just conveying a new set of values and morals, which are sexual liberation, the right to abortion, and freedom from marriage. But unfortunately, this movement towards immodesty and liberation has had very real negative consequences for women. For example, 17.7% of American women are on SSRIs compared to 8.4% of men. And there has been a steep decline in fertility rates leading to a population crisis. 1.4 million American women are on OnlyFans, and women hold 2/3 of the student loan debt. And I think it's really only now that we've reached such an extreme place in this female liberation revealing clothing era that we can start to appreciate how the traditional Catholic norms around modesty and dress are really a way to respect women and respect men. For example, the church veils all things that it considers holy. That is the tabernacle, the chalice, and women. I don't personally veil at church. It's not something that I've been called yet to do, but I have seen a lot of young women doing it now, and I think that it's so beautiful. Plus, there is a major trend of women who are aiming to counter the secular values of today with dressing in a more feminine and mindful manner, which I think is so great and is so beautiful. I think this all really points to there is going to be a major change in fashion as there is a return to religion and traditional values. We really have reached the logical conclusion of the feminist movement, which has been so ugly and such a disaster for women. And so we're going to have a return to traditionalism, faith, family, and femininity, which is going to really change how women are dressing and showing up, not just to church, but to work, to outside, walking around on the street, and at home. We're really starting to see the beginning stages of a Catholic revival amongst the youth, especially the notable popularity of the Latin Mass and so many people converting, me being one of them, that hopefully with the return of religion, fashion, and therefore media and magazines, and really how women are portrayed is going to go in a more conservative, modest way. But I really think we are at the forefront of all of this, so I would love to know your opinion about this. Do you see that there's been a trend towards more modest dressing? I really think that there has, but I would love to know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe so that you don't miss any future videos. And I thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.